that's the beautiful thing about music, innit? That anything can still break at any time. I think that's been the beautiful thing all along. Doesn't matter if it was punk or if it was grunge, you know, all of those things did start in a bedroom one way or another. They were probably injected loads of money in at some point, but you know, if it was Nirvana or something, it was a tiny little deal they had, you know, and then even the major deal they got was still pretty small. So yeah, I think you can make money, definitely make money if the band's good enough, and I think that's always been the problem with the good thing about music and the bad thing is that there's loads of awesome bands and loads of ones.
If some young kids were piling their kit into the back of a transit van for the first time in their lives,
yeah,
thinking about, you know, getting on the road,
yeah,
and living the rock life, what would you say to them as like, about, you know, you give them a piece of advice about how you go about doing it now?
I think you just got to be a bit kind of savvier. I'd say when you pack that van, it's not the guitars. Well, the guitar is the most important thing, but it's not the only important thing you've got to take. I mean, you've got to take that merch that you probably got your friend to design, you know, and you've got a nice merch board, and you've got to take that your sort of list of email addresses, you know, and you've got to take your little rubber bracelet, you know, with your band website on that you give, you know, that's a kind of a young band sort of thing. But yeah, I think they've got to be more aware of what's going on. It's not do this all for nothing until the guy with the cash comes along. Now it's more, this is our business.
So you think you've got to think like a business? You've got to think like
kind of not in an awful money's more important than music, but more just in a
brand.
Yeah, that's very good example. I think you've got to say to them, some smaller bands I work with, it's kind of like the gig's the most important thing, and yeah, having a great time playing with your friends. What you've got to say to them is, if you didn't make 50 quid tonight to pay for the petrol, you can't do that tomorrow. Which in a way, that's not saying the 50 quid is more important than the gig, but it's just a bit more realistic. Saying, let's do this again tomorrow, but we've got to sell 10 t-shirts first.
Whereas before, you didn't really care about that. You just
I think people were always waiting for that thing. Yeah, you know, it was, and it still happens. The glamour of it still happening. You know, now it's different. Somebody might come along. It might be a soft drinks company, it might be a trainer company, and it just sort of works differently. Those Jaeger guys, they're probably some of the coolest guys working in music at the moment. So they've got a scheme. Instead of putting their marketing budget into adverts or, you know, the sort of above the line marketing, they think it's better, why not have a band on the road that might not be on the road if we didn't help them, or, you know, or a band functioning. So no set kind of deal with Jaeger. You just go to them and say, we've got this. Could be an album, could be an EP, could be, you know, an opening slot on a tour. And then what they say is, well, you know, how about we'll help you with X or Y. So it might be help you with the van, it might be help you with some gear, help you with some merch that then funds the rest of the tour.
What do they get out of it?
They get the marketing in the sense of people kind of maybe wearing their t-shirts, drinking their drink, which is the main thing. You know, every gig there's doubtless going to be some sort of drink up afterwards. So, you know, that might be some big after show, it might be just everyone on the tour getting pissed together.
Do you think that is the way forward, really, in terms of kind of, because obviously if you're doing sort of DIY and you've not got a huge budget to work with, you know, is that the future model that it's going to be? It's like, if there's no major labels dangling those carrots?
I think it could be if it's brands like Jaeger. Some brands are really, it doesn't work. You know, some brands will say, you've got to wear this, you know, you've got to tweet this on the time that we say it to your fans when we're releasing something new. So yeah, it doesn't work for some people. It works quite well in the clothing world. There's quite a lot of clothing brands that'll kind of, there's no, you know, it's not like sports sponsorships. There's no, we'll pay you this, you do that. It's a lot more kind of relaxed. Always starts with kind of, we love your band, which is quite an honest place for some of these relationships to come from. So in the clothing world, it might be, here's a load of clothes, you know, if you wear it in your video, or, you know, if we do a collab on the merch or something, maybe there's something we can do together later. So yeah, viable, but I guess it could be worrying where it goes next. It'll be worrying the first time one of these companies puts a contract down and kind of says, you must do this.
Is it like a new thing though? Is it kind of or has it been going on for a while? Or?
It's fairly, Probably only in the last 5 years. Maybe clothing companies for the last 10 years have always been endorsing the bands they like. But again, always very hand to mouth, just, here guys, here's some free stuff. Yeah.
Do we still need people like you to kind of steer a ship, or, you know, is that role kind of as key as it always used to be?
I think the manager role, yeah, is probably more key now, because before, yeah, a label would do a lot of it. You know, you as a manager, you'd fight with the label about things, but you still got a common goal. You know, they'd have a timeline, they'd have a release date, they'd have a budget. You know, so the meeting would be fairly obvious, as in, album comes out here, so we've got to have a single here, so we've got to have video done here. Whereas now it's a bit, yeah, I think the manager's role's changed from being an overseer to, one, finding the cash. That's something, you know, it was quite a fun job before. You know, you'd look at video treatments and pick your producer. It's more like, now, how can we pay for this album? Unfortunately, it comes down to that a lot. You know, how can you pay for that video? How we pay for the album? Doing a tour budget that before you'd have some tour spots, so straight away you'd go, buses paid for, you know, you're getting 20 quid a day, whatever happens. If we sell loads of merch, awesome. Now it's a bit like, we have to sell this much merch every day. So it takes away some of the glory, you know, the glory days, 80s out of it. But really probably comes more about what your job should have been in the first place, which is making that band function, or making sure they get paid something at the end of each week.
So it's more like a cottage industry now, whereby
very,
it's all in house, and you can, you know, you're going to run the show yourself. Therefore, you know, you have total. Do you have total control over where it goes, or?
Probably got more control now, because the label hasn't got so much. If somebody's there saying to you, "Here's 100 grand," whatever anyone says, they are guiding it a little bit. You know what I mean? I guarantee the guy sending the treatments for the videos is probably somebody who's done videos for that label before. So yeah, more control, but, you know, but because you've got to do more. So yeah, I think it is a cottage industry version.
Splice things and stuff, so it's a completely different way of working. And that when you do vocals, instead of having 2 tracks left when you've done all the other instruments and you've got to sort of do a good vocal and then drop in on it, now you can just do lots of tracks and